Welcome to the session, Creating and Defining Pleats in 3D. In this session, you will learn how to use the PDS to create pleats in 2D and then simulate your pattern in 3D to view the finished product. We will take a look at a pleated skirt and see how it was created and defined in order to understand more about pleats and the many options you have. So let's begin. First, let's open up our pleated skirt. Go to Open and select the PDS file. As you can see, our skirt has a few different pleats. Let's place our skirt on the model. If you want to add another pleat, simply click the pleat icon or press L on your keyboard. If you want to add multiple pleats, all you have to do is select a segment, then go to Tools, Pleats, Create Multiple Pleats. Let's define our pleat. Pleat type. Here we have a few different options based on the type of pleat that you are creating. Select the type of pleat required from the drop-down list. Let's select knife pleat. Now let's define the depth of the pleat. We will enter 2 centimeters. The variable option allows you to change the depth of the pleat line above and below. By default, the pleat line is defined with the same depth at the start and end. If you want the pleat to be wider at the bottom, select the variable checkbox and then enter the depth. Let's enter 3 centimeters. You also have some 2D properties that define the way the pleat appears in 2D. They do not affect the pleat in 3D. For example, the dashed line checkbox. Click OK to create your pleat. Now let's define the pleat's 3D properties. To select the pleat, click in the middle of the pleat. Notice the pleat properties appear. Expand the 3D view attributes. External pleat. Select this checkbox if you want the pleat's extra material to be external, meaning the extra fabric will be located in front of the pattern. Or unmark it if you want the extra fabric to be located in the back of the pattern. From the base cross stitch dropdown, select the location of the base cross stitch. All pleats are automatically defined with a stitch at the start of the pleat. You can change the location of this stitch to the end, you can add 2 stitches to the start and end, or you can decide to remove this stitch. Let's select Start. Now let's add some different closings for the pleat. For example, if you need to create a fold line, you can do that here. Notice a number next to each closing type. This indicates the amount of closings that were defined. Here you have 4 different options. Closing. This allows you to define a closed stitch. This can be useful, for example, if you want a stitch at the start of the pleat line. Fold. This allows you to define a fold location. This can be useful if your pleat needs to fold, for example, in the middle of the pleat line. If you define a fold, you can then use your cursor to change the fold level. Iron. This allows you to define an iron location. This can be useful if, for example, your pleat needs to be ironed at the top. Cross. This allows you to add a cross stitch. This can be useful if you want to stitch a top stitch that crosses the pleat element. You have a few different options for adding a location. The process is the same for all the location types. Let's take a look at the Fold Locations dialog to see how. Click on the number to invoke the dialog. Let's start with Mark on Pleat. This means we can manually mark the start and end for the fold line on the pleat. Click Mark on Pleat. A pleat icon appears and 2 X's appear indicating the pleat. Now just click where you want the fold to start, and then click again where you want the fold to end. Another option is to manually add the values yourself. Enter a value in the start, either as a value or a percentage, and then do the same for the end. You can also add a full length, meaning you want a fold line over the full length of the pleat. Click full length. Notice the pleat is marked and the end value is 100%. Click Add and then OK. Notice the fold number is now 1, indicating that one fold was added. The other dialogues are the same, except for cross stitch, which does not offer a full-length option. Now let's see how our skirt looks after simulation. Click Simulate. As you can see, the process for creating pleats in 3D is very simple. You create your pleat in 2D, apply 3D attributes, and you're set. With the new 3D attributes, pleat creation is much easier and produces great simulation results. Congratulations! You've successfully learned how to create pleats in 3D.